What's up, your boy? Following another reaction, and in today's video, we have Discord messages that led to prison time by Tuv. Discord, how do y'all feel knowing like y'all the hub of weirdos, my nigga? Like the niggas that own Discord, how y'all feel knowing it's just nothing but
Every crime used to leave
weirdos, and every pedo allegations, every like the most terrible things ever come from Discord. CP.
physical evidence. Now, some of the strongest evidence are just messages, private chats, late
Now,
night
my kid is never having Discord, my nigga. This number weirdos on the
DMs, Discord servers that look normal on the surface, until investigators opened them and found exploitation rings, murder plots, and even leaked military secrets sitting inside
like, bruh.
casual conversations. A
It's
teenager
just shit he
manipulated
said.
underage victims for years behind a username, two students planned a stabbing step by step in chat logs, and a US serviceman shared classified
Thug Shaker General Central.
intelligence with online friends, triggering a national security crisis. These weren't anonymous rumors or internet horror stories, they were real conversations that became courtroom evidence. And if you're not subscribed yet, don't even worry about that, I will earn your subscription by the end of this video. Today, we're looking at Discord messages that didn't just stay online, they sent people to prison. Teens plan their teacher stabbing on Discord. Now, what kind of conversations do you think takes place on Discord between bored 13 and 14-year-olds? Gaming? Sure. Maybe gossip about the popular kids in their grade? Yeah. But in Perth, Australia in 2021, two teenage girls were using it to plan on how to kill their teacher. Their school was Willetton Senior High School, a public school in Perth's southern suburbs, and the target was a 55-year-old female teacher who, by all accounts, had actually spent a lot of time supporting the 14-year-old and her family. The exact reason she was chosen was never fully explained, even by the girl herself. So, as I said, it started on Discord. Between October 14th and November 1st of 2021, the two girls went back and forth planning on what they were gonna do. They first tossed around the idea of burning the school down, but the 14-year-old ruled that out pretty quickly, and the 13-year-old responded with, "I think the stabbing idea should take over." From there, it escalated fast. The 14-year-old started researching methods and sent detailed messages about how to fatally stab someone, pointing out that cutting the axillary artery under the armpit would cause instant death. The 13-year-old's responses to all of this were things like, "That sounds fun," and "That's so cool." So, on the morning of November 1st, the 14-year-old brought a kitchen knife from home to school. Because she was already subject to bag searches, she handed it to the 13-year-old to smuggle in. At recess, the knife was handed back. The 14-year-old then went to her teacher's small office and told her she had a, quote, good surprise for her. And the only reason the teacher survived the good surprise was this incredible series of lucky breaks. First, some students had overheard the girl's plan and alerted the school, and another teacher was actually running
Good shit.
to warn her when the girl attacked. Then the teacher turned her body at the perfect second, so the knife only left a small wound near her armpit instead of hitting the spot, the artery. After her plan failed, the 14-year-old took off, but she was arrested on foot in Willetton. When police searched her home, they found a piece of paper with the words murder and Monday scrawled on it. Of course, she pleaded guilty to attempted murder. In September of 2022, she was sentenced to 3 years and 1 month in juvenile detention, though the judge significantly reduced what could have been a much longer sentence because of the conditions at Banksia Hill Juvenile Detention Center, where over one 6-day period, she had spent 130 out of 144 hours locked in her cell due to critical staff shortages. The 13-year-old received 11 months for her role in the plot. In a letter written to her teacher from detention, the 14-year-old said, "I feel like a
You know, they kids, but 3 years is insane, my nigga. And juvie, but yeah,
monster. You were one of
you
the
know they kids and they got laws and this Australia and shit.
few people who were trying to help me." The teacher, meanwhile, was left dealing with PTSD and anxiety and was granted a 15-year restraining order against the kid. Now, I know the prison sentence here wasn't super harsh, but I felt the story is one that gives anyone chills because how does a Discord chat between kids end up in attempted murder of their teacher? Carl Davey. His messages encouraged harm. From the outside, this man named Carl Davies was just a husband, a
The fuck? Bro, look at this nigga, bro.
father of 2 young boys, a quantity
A sad pug looking ass nigga.
surveyor with
The nigga from Impractical Jokers looking ass.
a steady job, basically a family man with no prior convictions. But in 2023, Davies opened Discord where he met a 13-year-old girl from Stockport, Greater Manchester.
Oh my gosh. Like, oh.
She had learning disabilities, ADHD, and had been in care. Davies found her anyway, or maybe more accurately, he went looking for someone exactly like her. He created an account pretending to be a 14-year-old boy and used it to make contact. After getting her attention on Discord, he moved things over to Snapchat
And you had a family game. Like, come on, bro.
And that's where things got weird, because this man not only created one fake account, he created 6. Each one had its own name, its own personality, its own role to play. Some had usernames like Scouse Chris or Lee33Live. There
You
was
cosplaying as a teenager 5?
Ben, Chris, Sean, and then Mark. Some of those accounts threatened her, telling her they'd send the explicit images she'd already shared to her family or to the police if she didn't keep doing what they asked. Others were softer, more understanding. And then there was Mark, who told her he could keep all the other men away from her, that he could protect her. But remember, Mark was Davies too. By June 2024, one of the accounts told her that she had to meet Mark in person. So Davies, driving a leased vehicle, traveled from his home on the Wirral all the way to Stockport and picked her up from school in the middle of the day. She was still in her school uniform. Remember, she was just 14. He drove her to a secluded location and sexually assaulted her in the car. This happened 4 times across June and July. On one of those meetups, he brought a razor blade with him. He encouraged her to use it on her and asked her to send him videos of it. She had already been sending himself videos before they met in person at the request of the various accounts he ran. He'd literally been building towards this for months. By this point, he felt pretty confident that his plan was working out, but what he didn't plan on was that girl telling one of her friends about it. That friend told school staff and they called the police. As you might expect, the victim didn't want to talk, so it took 6 months of a social worker slowly building her trust before she felt safe enough to open up about everything that happened in that car with enough detail. The police went all out, tracked movements from Davies' front door all the way to Stockport, and when they raided his home, they confirmed that all 6 fake accounts had been sending messages from the same exact location, his house. Davies was arrested and sentenced to 20 years in prison plus 5 years on license. Now, curiously enough, this might not have been Davies' first rodeo. Back in November of 2020, the National Crime Agency had actually arrested Davies because they thought he had illegal photos of children, but for some reason, the prosecutors dropped the case. Fast forward 3 years and
What?
there he was on Discord looking for his next victim. Tyler Thomas. Discord chats added to his legal woes. Haley Busby was 17 years old and living in Fishers, Indiana, a suburb northeast of Indianapolis. By most accounts, she was a regular high school student, and somewhere along the way, she started playing video games online. Games like Roblox, League of Legends, games that keep teenagers busy and less feral. And it was through those games that she came into contact with Tyler Thomas. Thomas was 39 years old and lived in Columbus, Ohio, about 3 hours away. Court documents say the two had been talking for more than a year before anything happened, partly through Discord and partly through an encrypted messaging app called Session, which investigators believed he used specifically to avoid leaving too much of a digital trail. On the night of January 5th, 2026, Haley left her family's home. Her parents woke up the next morning and found her gone. There was a note. It said she had run away and asked that no one search for her. She had taken her phone and a few personal belongings. Police got to work quickly, and using camera footage from license plate readers, they picked up a vehicle in the area around the time she disappeared, an Acura SUV with Indiana plates, but one whose pattern of movement was centered in Columbus, Ohio. They traced the back and eventually landed on Tyler Thomas. When they first interviewed him, Thomas said he had been in the area to look at places, including a local airport and an apple orchard. That story didn't hold up though. He later admitted that he had driven to Fishers and picked Haley up from her home, bringing her back to Columbus. He claimed that she had asked him to do it. He also claimed that he thought she was 18. Then he said he dropped her off on the side of the road in western Ohio. That story didn't hold up either. Bank records showed Thomas had actually been in Indiana months earlier, in June of 2025, with charges at a gas station and at the restaurant where Haley worked. So it wasn't the first time he traveled to see her. Investigators also found photos on his phone showing the two of them together. Then they reviewed the cell phone data. It showed that after picking Haley up, Thomas drove her to an Airbnb in Logan, Ohio. Investigators went there and actually found potential traces of blood. The next morning, January 7th, his phone placed him near the North County Trail trailhead in Wayne National Forest. His phone sat at that location from around 9:25 in the morning until 2:15 in the afternoon. That's when it started moving back towards Columbus. By January 19th, the Fishers police had officially listed Haley as an endangered missing juvenile. A month later, Thomas was in handcuffs, and police broke the news that they didn't think she was coming home alive. The very next day, Thomas took his attorney and the police to Wayne National Forest. He led them to a spot on the North County Trail where, after digging through a layer of ice and snow, investigators found her remains. Now, the Haley Busby case is what most people know about, but while investigators were going through Thomas's phone, they found something else. A Discord conversation with a different teenager, someone who had told him she was in 10th grade in December 2025, just weeks before Haley went missing. In those messages, Thomas wrote things like, "Does baby carve parts of her own body?" and "You'd look so good covered in red." His phone also contained CSAM material of a girl believed to be between 7 and 10 years old. Clearly a deranged person with so much evidence against him. On February 10th, 2026,
Discord, this the niggas that's on your platform.
federal charges were filed. Right now, Thomas is facing 2 main charges. One is for taking advantage of a minor, and the other is for crossing state lines to commit a crime. Each of these could put him behind bars for up to 30 years. He hasn't been charged with murder yet, and the prosecutors are making it clear that the investigation is still ongoing. Aaron Joseph Werstein, 21 years for catfishing young victims. This next one starts with a username that tells you almost everything you need to know about how this guy operated. Jessica Loves You. That was a Discord handle that first caught the attention of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children after a tip came in flagging that account for distributing CSAM. What investigators found when they pulled on that thread was a 25-year-old man from Columbus, North
Look at this chud, my nigga. Ugh.
Carolina named Aaron Joseph Werstein. Columbus is a small town in Polk County, tucked in the Blue Ridge foothills in the western part of the state. Not a place that makes the regional news often, but in September of 2021, law enforcement showed up at Werstein's residence with a search warrant and walked out with several electronic devices.
Like Mountain Dew Call of Duty playing ass nigga. Boy, them white niggas love ranked.
And yes, they found pretty disturbing things there. First, how did he do it? What was the play here? Well, Werstein would get on Discord and pose as a girl. He'd reach out to young boys, send them sexually explicit images of women, and claim to be the person in those images. Once he had their trust, he'd push them to send explicit images and videos of themselves back to him. Classic catfishing, but against minors. Investigators discovered he was running the exact same operation on Twitter, using it as the hub to message victims and receive the content they were forced to create. By the time they counted everything, they found that Werstein had saved more than 4,197 images and videos of CSAM on his devices, and at least 8 male victims between the ages 12 and 17 had been manipulated into creating and sending him material. All 8 were identified. He pled guilty in March of 2024 to charges of using a minor to create sexually explicit images and videos. Then, on June 4th, he was sentenced to 21 years in federal prison. On top of that, he was ordered to pay a $5,000 special assessment, pay restitution to his victims, and register as a sex offender upon release. And when he does get out, he'll be under supervised release for the rest of his life. Allison Kranick, ex-school employee, texts minor close to 5,000 times. Allison Kranick was a 44-year-old married mother of 2. She worked at a school, and what she did to an 11-year-old boy is just as disturbing as anything else we've covered here. Kranick worked as an administrative assistant at
Fuck the student. Fuck the student.
E.O. Smith High School in Mansfield, Connecticut. On the surface, a completely unremarkable woman. But sometime in 2022, she began messaging an 11-year-old boy. It started over regular text and Snapchat. Then she found out that one of the boy's family members was checking his messages and social media accounts, so she suggested they move the conversation to Discord, where it would be harder to monitor. Between July and October of 2022, the two exchanged more than 4,700 messages on that platform. That's roughly 4 months. Do the math, and that's dozens of messages every single day back and forth between a grown woman and a child who hadn't even started middle school yet. Things went beyond messages, and she was grooming him with gifts. Gifts like AirPods, a pellet gun, caffeinated drinks to keep him awake late at night. And why, you ask? Well, besides the endless messaging, she was also convincing him to sneak out of his house after midnight to meet her. This happened at least 14 times. She'd pick him up and drive him to spots around the area, Columbia Lake, the Horace Porter School in Columbia, the Salmon River State Forest in Colchester, and she would sexually him in her car. Now, there's one detail from this case that's really sick.
11-year-old gang.
You know, aside from everything we've already talked about, of course, and that's the fact that she made the boy a bracelet with an acronym on it, BFFLWB, and you are going to be absolutely disgusted by what this acronym meant. It meant Best Friends for Life with Benefits. Yes, her friends with benefits was an 11-year-old. Eventually, the boy cut contact with her. Court documents say she had been emotionally manipulating him into spending more and more time with her, and at some point he'd had enough. In September of 2023,
And you got 2 kids. So what the hell you was gonna do to your kids when they grew up? What the
Kranick was fired from her job at the school, and 2 months later, in November, she was arrested on state charges. She was released on bond, and then she was arrested again because while out on bond, she allegedly contacted a 13-year-old girl on Snapchat, which was a direct violation of her release conditions. In July of 2024, the feds charged her, and by November of 2025, she admitted she was guilty. The law says she has to serve at least 10 years, but she could stay in prison for the rest of her life. 2 teens in Shelbyville charged with attempted murder. Morristown High School sits in Shelbyville, Indiana, about 32 miles southeast of Indianapolis. Small town, rural.
But when she get out of jail, she don't even deserve to be around her own kids. Cause what the fuck she gonna do to them?
The kind of place where not much usually makes national news. In December of 2025, that changed when a mother named Rhonda Nicholson walked into the sheriff's office with her phone and showed them her daughter's chats. Her daughter was Alexis Pickett, age 17, a senior at Morristown High School. Rhonda had noticed behaviors that worried her, including an obsession with past school. On Alexis's devices, investigators found photos of the Columbine gunmen, these two students responsible for the 1999 Colorado school massacre, and for
But niggas be looking up to anybody, bro. Like influenced by anybody.
Halloween, she had curiously dressed as a school from a movie. She had also told investigators she had thought about suicide for a long time and had a desire to hurt others. But Alexis wasn't planning this alone. On Discord and Telegram, she had been talking with 17-year-old Melanie Little, who lived all the way in Corinth, Mississippi. The two had mapped out the whole thing. They picked a date,
Amazing mother for checking her kid phone and shit.
May 25th,
And bringing this
2026,
to the police sheriff.
which was 2 days after graduation, with Little planning to travel to Indiana under the cover story that she was attending her friend's graduation ceremony. When her mother said she couldn't travel that far, Little's plan was simply to lie. Alexis recorded videos of the school's hallways and dead ends and sent them to Little so she would know how to move through the building. They talked about guns. Alexis already owned a muzzleloader and sent Little photos of shooting targets, mentioning she could also access her father's revolver. Little brought up her stepdad's weapons collection despite him being on probation. They discussed two shooters being more likely to succeed, with Little at one point even saying she wanted it to be bigger than Columbine. She also talked about explosives, IEDs, Molotov cocktails, even lethal gas, saying the small town would be completely unprepared. And yes, they would have been right about that. It was set to be a terrible tragedy, and they planned to end it by killing themselves, just like Harris and Klebel did in 1999. Even though they couldn't carry out their plan, Alexis was charged in January this year, and Little was charged in February. Both are 17 and both are being charged as adults, each facing one count of attempted murder and one count of conspiracy to commit murder, which carries 20 to 40 years. Alexis is sitting in jail on a $1 million cash bond, with her trial set for April 20th. Little is being held in Mississippi, while Indiana pushes to extradite her after she refused to waive the process. At
But if they get off with it,
the end of
well,
the day, a mother's intuition likely saved a whole bunch of lives.
yeah.
James Steiner was all in on sexual exploitation. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think there's something particularly disturbing about how easy it is to hide behind a screen. I mean, it's been easy since the dawn of the internet, but now with AI, it's getting even crazier. Anyway, you can be anyone, be anywhere, and reach people you'd literally never cross paths with in real life. And for some people, that anonymity becomes a tool for something far darker than I'd assume most people care to think about. That's the story of James. James, full name James Steiner, was 17 years old when he started, just a teenager from California, and by the time he was 19 and arrested, he had spent 2 years running what prosecutors would later call, and I quote, a pervasive online campaign, with the sole goal to manipulate and exploit vulnerable girls, Discord being his platform of choice. Now, before we dive into the details of this case and the ones that follow, I want to clarify one thing for anyone that may not be fully aware. I know this might sound crazy, but Discord was originally built for gamers. Jason Citron, the founder, meant for it to be a place to hang out, voice chat during matches,
Look at the founder. The founder looked like a school shoot. He like a school threat.
and build communities around shared interests. But over time, it's become something much broader, and with that came a much harder crowd to police. Between the millions of users, private servers, and direct messages, things can quickly get finicky. And that's exactly the kind of environment Steiner operated in. Investigators found he had been involved in at least 45 chats where he targeted girls between 12 and 17 years old, many of them in
Wait, the modder? The nigga that wait. The nigga that the
finicky.
founder of Discord?
And that's exactly the kind of environment Steiner operated in. Messages, that and build community. Jason Citron, the founder, meant for it to be a place to hang out, voice chat during matches, and build communities around shared interests. But over time, it's become something much broader, and with that came a much harder crowd to
Oh.
police. Between
Nigga, I thought they said the founder was talking to minors. I'm about to say, what the fuck?
the millions of users, private servers, and direct messages, things can quickly get finicky. And that's exactly the kind of environment Steiner operated in. Investigators found he had been involved in at least 45 chats where he targeted girls between 12 and 17 years old, many of them in Washington, D.C., and across different parts of the country. He demanded they send him sexually explicit photos and videos, while also sending them his own images. But all this didn't just stay online as a digital crime. He took it a step further. With at least 2 of his victims, he met up with them in person and had sex. And let me just say this again in case you've forgotten. None of these girls were over 18, let alone 18. They were all underage. By the time it was all accounted for, Steiner had admitted to victimizing a dozen girls as part of his plea agreement. All 12 were identified by prosecutors. He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of receipt of CSAM, 1 count of distributing it, and 1 count of coercion and enticement of a minor. But remember how I told you that Discord is an incredibly tough place to track these kinds of criminals? And if that's the case, then how did they catch James? Well, how about a multi-agency investigation spanning months? Just imagine how many detective eyes went through his files and all. The case started with DC Metropolitan Police Department, which was working through a joint task force with the FBI. California authorities also stepped in. It took coordination across states to piece it together. By September 2025, Steiner, now 20, was sentenced to 14 years in federal prison, followed by 7 years of supervised release. I also want to point out something interesting
Ain't enough time, but that's all right.
here, and it's the U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro's statement that was incredibly direct. She said, "Whether you are behind a screen or behind closed doors, we will find you and convict you." Jack Teixeira posted U.S. military secrets. This one wasn't a crime against a specific person, instead the nation itself, a crime against the US. In early April 2023, something strange started happening online. Classified US military documents, the kind with satellite images, troop movement maps, and intelligence on American allies, started showing up on random corners of the internet. First on a small Discord server, then on a public Discord channel during an argument about Minecraft, of all things, then on 4chan, then on pro-Kremlin Telegram channels. Within days, Russian state TV was talking about them. Some copies had even been edited to inflate Ukrainian casualty members and shrink Russia's. The Pentagon was scrambling, the FBI was there too, and nobody publicly knew who was behind it. Now, the server where it all started was called Thug Shaker Central, an invite-only Discord community of roughly 24 members, mostly young people who liked guns, military gear, and gaming. They'd originally met in a Discord server built around a YouTuber who posted videos about weapons and military stuff. During COVID lockdowns, a small group broke off and formed their own private space, and the person who drove that new community, who was essentially its leader and administrator, was a 21-year-old from Dighton, Massachusetts named Jack Teixeira. And believe it or not, Teixeira was actually in the military. Specifically, he was an Airman First Class in the 102nd Intelligence Wing of the Massachusetts Air National Guard, stationed at Otis Air National Guard Base on Cape Cod. His job title was Cyber Transport Systems Journeyman, basically an IT role for maintaining Air Force communications. And despite being fairly junior in rank, he held a top secret security clearance. He joined the Guard straight out of high school in 2019, skipping his own graduation ceremony to attend basic training in Texas, probably because military service was genuinely woven into his family, seeing that his stepfather had served 34 years in the Air Force and his mother had worked with nonprofits helping veterans. Though it looks like this dude slept through the parts where you're told not to share military secrets. Because what was he doing sharing classified documents on Discord of all places? To impress his little circle of friends? Prosecutors said he
Thug Shaker Central, my nigga. Like,
started posting classified information as early as December of 2022, first typing out summaries, then taking photos of actual printed documents he'd smuggled out of the base during overnight shifts when supervision was thin. The Air Force's own Inspector General later confirmed there was a serious lack of oversight during those overnight shifts. But listen, this dude's will to leak those documents was super strong because supervisors had apparently warned him multiple times. They caught him taking notes from classified material unrelated to his duties and told him to stop. And, well, he didn't. He kept going for months. When the documents went viral and the investigation closed in, Teixeira tried to destroy evidence, smashing his tablet, laptop, and Xbox, and telling Discord members to delete their messages. It didn't work, obviously, and on
that
April
boy doing treason.
13, 2023, FBI agents showed up at his home in Dighton. Next to his bed, they found handguns, shotguns, rifles, an AK-style rifle with a high-capacity magazine, and a gas mask. He pled guilty to 6 counts of willful retention and transmission of national defense information and was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison in November of 2024. He was also dishonorably discharged after a separate military court-martial last year. In a prison interview with ABC News in May of 2025, Teixeira said he wouldn't change what he did because all he wanted was to give people the, quote, truth. JR, kid that planned a mass shooting. This next case leads us to Canton, Ohio, where on September 1st of 2023, something was posted on Discord that put it
planning to burn up and shoot up the synagogue. Like,
squarely in the middle of a federal investigation. A detailed plan to carry out a mass shooting at Temple Israel, a synagogue right there in Canton. And the plan wasn't vague. It included maps of the building, allegedly drawn by the suspect and another individual in Washington state, and it laid out intentions to burn the place down and shoot it up. All of it posted openly on Discord. And when investigators finally knocked on the door of the person responsible, they found a 13-year-old boy. For this story, we're actually going to be referring to him by his initials, JR, and a refreshing detail in all of this is that Discord actually stepped in and helped uncover the whole thing. The platform's counter-extremism analysts spotted the posts, removed them, and reported the user directly to the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. 6 days after the post went up, on September 7th, an FBI agent contacted the Stark County Sheriff's Office, and they went together to the boy's home. When they sat down with him, JR admitted he had been part of multiple anti-Semitic and political groups on the platform. His school was notified the same day, and the boys were charged in Stark County Juvenile Court with 2 misdemeanor counts, inducing panic and disorderly conduct. These charges were relatively light given what was being described in those posts, but that's partly how the juvenile
all this damn, all this boys, 13-year-old boys, seen all the Jew hate on the internet and want to shoot up a synagogue. Like,
system works. The more uncomfortable question, and one that didn't get
Nigga just following dreams.
a clean answer in any of the coverage, was how serious the intentions actually were. No weapons were reportedly found at the time of the arrest. What investigators did find were detailed plans and maps that had already been shared with at least one other person located in Washington state. And although there was no prison time here, I wanted to talk about this case because it shows that Discord, the same platform that kept coming up in grooming cases and exploitation rings, also has a system that flagged a detailed shooting plan before anyone got hurt. Although that also begs the question on just how accurate or prioritized the moderation is. How does it pick up explicit content? Are there trigger words for threats such as a mass shooting? So many unanswered questions. Tyler Robinson. Message friends chat hours before arrest. What if a single
Tyler Robson. Ain't that the nigga that sniped
message sent to a group chat full of friends
CK?
ended up becoming one of the most damning pieces of evidence in a murder case? It might make you look like the world's
The crazy thing, this nigga look like Charlie Kirk. What the fuck, bro?
dumbest killer, but apparently it happens. I mean, it happened. For context, let's back it up to September 10, 2025, when Charlie Kirk, the 31-year-old conservative activist and co-founder of Turning Point USA, is speaking at an open-air event on campus when a single bullet hit him in the neck. The crowd was full of students. Kirk died from the wound, and just like that, the hunt for his killer began. Now the suspect, Tyler Robinson, is 22 years old. He grew up in a Utah suburb, briefly went to Utah State University and dropped out, and had enrolled in an electrical apprenticeship program. Not exactly the profile most people picture when they hear political assassination, but I guess it never does look like
None of them white people wish that boy was black. Boy, them niggas was like, oh, them niggas was praying it was a black dude. If it was a black dude that assassinated him, boy, it would have been black people are thugs. Like it would have been all type of shit.
Washington County Sheriff's Office on September 11th at around 10 p.m., but was a single message enough to prove that he did it? Not exactly. They also found his DNA on the trigger of a rifle, a Mauser Model 98 that belonged to his grandfather, which was hidden
Yeah, ever since that nigga Charlie Kirk passed away, bro, I've been seeing mad niggas that look like that nigga. Like I just seen a post. I could pull this shit up. Hold on. I seen this nigga Joe Burrow was with a nigga that looked like Charlie Kirk. I'm not even trolling. Why is it mad niggas that look like him? Yeah, let's go on Joe Burrow page, bro. Oh, his shit pop right up. Joey B. Look at this nigga, bro. Like, hold on, bro. Like, why bad white niggas look like this nigga Kirk? Like, what the fuck?
the woods near
Ever
campus.
since that nigga passed, you just be seeing clones of that nigga. What Young Thug said. You ever heard niggas, what the nigga Young Thug said? You ever heard niggas rapping about dogs and then you started seeing a lot of dogs? Uh, what that nigga ass said? Y'all ain't understood what he said. I understood what he had said.
He made the entire United States of America like dogs. Like I remember it was once upon a time where it wasn't a lot of dogs, bro. Like the early like 1995, 96, I don't remember seeing dogs like that.
Gang, what 5?
And them niggas came on like a lot of dogs. And then it's like, you know how you buy a Jeep and then you start seeing Jeeps.
I get what he's saying. Doug, I get what you saying, 5. I feel you, 5. King Slime, I get what you saying.
You'll never see a car till you buy it.
Right.
It's like once I finally heard DMX music,
I get what he's saying, bro.
I started seeing dogs.
For real.
Like, oh damn, it really is a lot of dogs. He made
I get what he's saying. So y'all just ain't understood something. Like it's a spiritual thing. Like I don't know. You a nigga in your ear rapping about a dog and you look out your window, you just see a dog. Like it's a spiritual thing. I don't know. This world just I don't know. But I get what Young
Every
Thug, I
crime
get
used
what
to
you
leave
saying,
physical
5.
evidence. Now, some of the strongest evidence are just messages, private chats, grandfather, which was hidden in the woods near
Seen all the Charlie Kirk AI memes. Now I'm just seeing Charlie Clerks. I don't get it.
campus. Also, security cameras caught him arriving on campus hours
Like, gang, don't he look like the nigga?
before the shooting in a maroon t-shirt and shorts, before he apparently switched to a different outfit. Anyway, as of this video's publishing, he has been charged with aggravated murder, felony
Like, gang, he
discharge
look just like that nigga. Fire.
of a firearm, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and more. He is currently being held without bail, and the case is still very much ongoing. Alright everyone, that's going to be it for this video. If you like the way I explain these stories,
Make sure to comment, subscribe, and all deuces.